Doing great, team. They don't have a chance. Sweet move. Two punch. Nice job. Bugging out. We won by a landslide. Well done, 6-4.
This is the last change on the Ferrari that we're going to talk about today. Is this cluster of brake duct winglets. It's getting ever more complicated. You can see really clearly just how complicated these parts are becoming. Not just the upper section, but the sections lower down as well, and those cutouts. Ferrari are working like every team super hard on that part of the car, and that's why you're going to see a lot of teams talking about these parts, but they are difficult to develop. So Ferrari, they're taking their first big upgrade step here in Barcelona. Will it help them take the fight to Red Bull? Red Bull Racing, they brought a few updates here to Barcelona, perhaps fewer than expected, but moving around the front of the car to the mid-section of the floor of the car. This is something a few people haven't picked up on, but down here in the mid-section of the floor, this little flick up here just sort of buckets up the air. And a few people speculate that's a camera or a sensor. It's not. It is a new part of the Red Bull floor. The biggest and most important change, though, for Red Bull here at the Spanish Grand Prix is this rear wing. Now, they've introduced a higher downforce rear wing specification. It produces more aerodynamic drag, but more downforce, and that's suitable for here in Barcelona, and also to a lesser extent to Monaco. Another section that's probably a little bit harder to see, and we're going to have to get right down here, and it's just above this little flick up. Just here, where the floor meets the underside of the body, they've got what we call the blister. Now, this blister is not to house particular components as far as I'm aware, though there is an inspection hatch on it. That is simply there to channel the flow along this side portion of the car, all the way back to that super important area by the side of the rear wing. And then the final change for Red Bull, it's a fairly conventional one, just because it's a little bit warm here in the Spanish sunshine, they've blanked off some of their coolers. And actually that's surprising, because you'd expect it to be fully open, because it's hot, but to save on the aerodynamic drag caused by the new rear wing, they've closed it up. So could be a little bit toasty under that bodywork for the Red Bull. Aston Martin, the front wing of the Aston Martin AMR 22 is particularly interesting at the Spanish Grand Prix. Why is it so interesting? Well, because it hasn't really changed since the last Grand Prix. And that is pretty special on the AMR22 in Spain, because almost every other part of the car has been substantially modified. There's a new floor on the car with split leading edges on the top of the floor. The side of the floor is completely different. The bodywork package above it, the side pods are different. The entry duct has been moved further rearward and completely reshaped. The top bodywork is a completely new concept, no longer that long, flat top side pod with those straight louvres on. There's more now curved louvres along that bodywork. It now slopes down much more to the back than it did originally. Then going to the rear wing, like most teams, Aston Martin has brought along a higher downforce, higher drag specification rear wing. And that's just to suit the characteristics of this track. However, you have probably noticed that some of the design elements of this update package on the Aston Martin AMR22 do look rather similar to parts of the Red Bull